it supposes that we had a spirituality, because otherwise there's nothing to, that we've sort of deconstructed.
The topic of deconstruction, it seems and feels like it's more prevalent within the Christian circles, right? Because deconstruction is about your belief system.
No, that's good. And that questioning is really important, because if we backtrack our beliefs, as Daniel, as you're talking, I'm thinking, if I backtrack my beliefs and then see what has this produced, that is a very important question for me, is like, what is the fruit or the result of a belief? Has it produced something good? So
the whole process of deconstruction for me starts with, I call it the pendulum effect.
Okay, great to be back again after a short break. Guys, so we were about to dive into a little bit in the deep end on the New Age and side and the science side, like is it science versus the church, faith, whatever. And that, so let's dive into this, because it's a pretty big side of this process we're in. Who wants to go first?
I can just say something real quick about the culture that's shifting as well, at least in America. A lot of podcasts, a lot of people wanting to do community and not knowing how. And then, like, when I was in the rave scene 10 years ago plus, it was a little bit of a younger crowd, a lot of drugs and everything to kind of go escape. And then what I've noticed is a lot of top business people and just any age is like, it's just getting into more of like raves and expression and psychedelics and all this stuff. And so there's this just shifting culture that's happening. And in that comes a lot of these new beliefs. I mean, so I've done a bunch of psychedelics. That's a big thing on the table. And when you are in certain states of mind, there's a lot that when you leave that state, you're trying to make sense of what you just experienced, because it does a deconstruction for you in many ways. So many things dissolve. And the more that people are getting into that, the more they're having a lot of their illusions dissolved, or
just froze there, Andrew.
In those states. So then you're trying to get a idea of what just happened. And then there's this whole sense of integration. And now it is coming up in medicine and in science and all this stuff with psychedelic medicine. So it's a very interesting intersection where there's a lot of beautiful and amazing use. I abused them because I went into crazy states of mind at wild, quality and whatever that caused a lot of things. But in certain states with, under certain supervision and certain things could be same tool, different uses. But what I'm saying is, at the end of that, there's this, what just happened to me? What is this reality? All those things naturally happen. And I think the psychedelic thing needs to be at least talked about, whether it's in the church or just in culture, on how that's happened. This is also, the Jesus movement in the 70s. There was a lot of free love and, free drugs and free thought and all this stuff. And something of a Jesus movement birthed out of that. And then as time went on and people got kind of like firmed up into certain things and these factions formed. But it's a very interesting kind of renaissance we're in with culture. So I think that's a big portion of it, because now science and quantum physics and stuff is coming in at a more widespread, more people are talking about it. And is there proof that your thoughts actually do create? Are thoughts actual things? Yes. Okay. So there's a lot of truth in this whole thing we're trying to come to, because what happens in this deconstruction process is, do you deconstruct everything so that now you truly have no foundation that you stand on? That's the question. What do we deconstruct to, and where's our final landing point? Because actually, I think that's kind of beautiful to really question the things that you don't need and take out the trash. I think humanity's taking out the trash for real, and getting unconstipated in our just this holding of stuff and loosing all this stuff out, and then now we need to be really firm with where are we now.
I love and hate these conversations because you're listening to somebody and it's causing so many different thoughts inside of you. You're trying to hold on to, like, okay,
bro, you do that to me, man. You do that to me. You finally, I get to do it to you one time.
So one of the things about New Age, right, is it's a concept that it's some kind of new set of beliefs, when it's not. What we're referring to when they're calling New Age, it's actually the age old, and it's actually Jesus was something new in a time where everything that's considered New Age was already believed. Psychedelics were already being taken. All the concepts, even, and we kind of have this idea that the biblical thing is to be anti or against all the other beliefs, when actually the Bible kind of like includes, right? There are certain
Acts
things that
17,
set it apart, but whether it's the first books of the Bible are including history narratives and stuff that was already around, whether the flood story or, different creation myths and stuff. But even the logos, or the concept of the logos, in the beginning was the logos. The logos was a concept that the Greeks were talking about.
That's right.
So it's like all this stuff that was deemed New Age is stuff that's age old, and that's very important to understand, right?
Yeah.
And so what became this New Age, somebody mentioned like a Renaissance, like it was from the Renaissance era. And that's because there was something called the Dark Ages, which basically education was non-existent to the average person. Literacy, literally just reading and writing, was not even a privilege for the average person. And so the Bible for 1,000 years was not accessible to the average person. It was read only in Latin and only by priests to the people who didn't have the ability to even know if what they were being told was what was in the book, which that was part of the Protestant Reformation, was starting to identify some of these things. Hey, that's being preached. It's not what the book says, right? So in a short window of time, it's very comparable to right now, this flood of information.
Yes.
For these people, getting the Bible translated in their native tongue and in the hands of the average person. And then, the Catholics did not allow, whether it was the Gnostic books or the old Hermetic, the Egyptian, the Babylonian, all this stuff, but like Islam and Muslim and different other belief systems, they weren't opposed to that stuff. And astronomy and astrology and arithmetic and geometry and all these different things. Those other religions honored those things. And so you had the Christians were actually like this isolated pocket of people that no information was allowed accessible to them. So in a short period of time, people started pushing against that, very similar to what's happening right now with deconstruction, is that people start pushing back against this restriction and limitation of information of what we're being told is not, I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to ask questions. I'm not allowed to challenge things. I'm not allowed to read certain things. And now that just makes me want to all the more. And so that was happening in Europe. And so within a short period of time, you not only got the Bible, but the Hermetic teachings and philosophies and all these ancient wisdom teachings that was, maintained throughout the ages, it all flooded into Europe in a very concentrated short period of time. And then there was an explosion of artistic expression and rehashing and revamping of all these age-old ideas. And that's the same thing that's happening with us now because of the internet, where just since I was in high school, the average nobody, even in a third world country, has access to every book ever written and known by man. And that freedom of access of information, while it can be overwhelming and it can also lead to a lot of these confusing experiences, it levels the playing field and it sets the table that anything that you want to know about, you can ask the question and be led to the information, right? And so I just want to say that when I talk about New Age, because most of what I experienced, that most of the preaching against and about things, whether it's psychedelics, whether it's New Age, whether it's, all this stuff, it's done a lot of times by people who actually have no experiential knowledge of the thing. And that's when it gets to be such a dangerous thing, because there's these strong opinions presented as facts to people who know no better.
Nice. That's right.
People don't realize, like when it says about the teachers will be held with a greater measure of responsibility. Why? Because now that we know that consciousness is shaped by words and agreements, you're literally influencing and shaping the consciousness of souls by telling them what is and what is not. And if they don't know any better and they just say yes and they accept your words as fact, they're literally being structured and formed from the inside out because they're coming into agreement with you, and so
that's good. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, maybe we explore a little bit about now, not what it's not, but what is included under that umbrella.
That's so good, man.
Yeah. Excellent base to start with. Vernal, you've got a lot of experience in this, and I haven't heard enough about that. I want to hear more of this.
Yeah, I've been on that path where I started diving deep into metaphysics, energy, vibration, frequency. In fact, I got into yoga. Not saying that is bad, but I became advanced yoga teacher and all this stuff. And uh, what I understood is the lingo of the New Age people. It looks similar to the Christian lingo, but there's a lot of subtle differences. For example, love, right? So they will speak about love. It's like everything is love. We need to love. God is love, and we are love. But I observed myself when I was in that phase. That love is a very superficial love. I mean, where is the reference point for love? When you say, I love somebody, what is the reference point? What does love mean? It does not have a laying down kind of love. And when you look at the Christian perspective of love, Jesus gives us a true example of what love is. By laying his life down, he gives a reference to everyone how love should be. And that's when I realized there are subtle differences with the language. Like for example, when we talk about spirit in New Age, we talk about energy and frequency, and so that makes you again connecting it to what we were speaking before. It makes you feel that there is God, and this God is a kind of a universe, and you can't have a personal relationship with him.
Yeah.
And that's when that personal relationship with this God is taken away, it seems like you are in a kind of mechanical world. Things are just happening because they're happening. There's no higher consciousness where you can relate to and have a personal relationship with, those kind of things. And again, it takes you on a route where you are lonely, you're empty, you are trying to logically reason out these things. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's good.
So how do you sort out, and how did you sort out, are you throwing what out, or are you throwing out the whole baby with the bathwater? How do you sort that out? Because we've obviously, we've all come through actually some reconstruction. So let's start going including that in the conversation, which is, perhaps not what we expected, but just if you can, along that there is there's a lot of triggers we that come up too.
Yeah.
A lot of triggers, and those triggers it's like, okay, hang on, what am I actually really seeking? How do I sort this out? So please, Vernal.
Yeah, I think we all start well. For me, as a Christian pastor, I wanted to do something good for people. I wanted to be productive in people's life. And so the whole thought process that I want to do something constructive in people's life led me to this place where I thought, having this mindset of how the New Age people have, I'm going to be effective. But when you come to a place and you realize, no, you cannot be effective, because when you are in new age, you do have a community, but you don't have a community like a church. You don't have the machinery called as a church. It You might have a community, but the way a church is structured, I mean, I've been dwelling deep into seeing how the church is structured. And at one point, as a Christian pastor, you feel you have aversion towards a structured institution. But then you realize, again, it's you are going towards one side of the pendulum, extreme side, and then you realize, no, we need to bring that into balance, and again embrace that institution, embrace community in the way a church is designed. And that's when today, when I come back, reconstruct, I come back from the perspective of dwelling deep into new age stuff. And when I come back to church and I see, I can't throw this whole institution, organization away, but I can embrace it, but with new perspective. Um I did see abuse in the old institution church. I see a lot of negativity. But how about removing the negativity, not focusing on the negativity, and looking at some of the beautiful things that an institution and organization consist of? Because without an institute and organization, if you really see, we dwell in an institution. A government is an institution and an organization, and we as humans need all that. When I was in the path of new age yoga and all that stuff, for us, again, it's like we don't need that institution, we don't need that organization. I just can be a person meditating on a mountain, but how does it help? How does it feed the poor who are there in India? How does that bring justice into the life of people? People are getting raped, murdered. People are getting going through depression, anxiety. How do you bring solution to those people? I can't bring meditating on or practicing yoga whole day on a mountain. I need to come down and I need to provide solution. And so I have seen, you see, most of this, India is full of people with these philosophies, different philosophies. We have Osho, we have Krishnamurti, and all these guys. And they did have communities. Some of them did have communities. But how much is that community still alive today? And how much it's bringing solution today? And that's when I realized the church has been for so long, and it has brought amazing solution to the ailing world. The church has brought science. The church has brought medicine, hospitals. Recently, I was checking out even the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church has its own. The Vatican has its own. I think what do you call that? Telescope to see the stars and study all that, and they embrace science. And these are the things where we come to a place to realize that the church has the machinery to bring solution in every area of life.
That's good.
So that was a very, very, very good turning point for me.
Thank you. And I want to turn to you, Andrew, but I think I'm hearing there that you're not just questioning to throw out, but you're questioning, what do I keep? That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. Andrew.
What this sparked in me was the fact that probably the first thing I would talk about is we've all been hurt by church. Okay. Mm-hmm. I know the feeling. I've been around a very, very dysfunctional church, and these leaders who fully either abuse power, don't, like I mentioned earlier, don't have what you want, don't have the solutions, Vernal, like you said. They're not bringing solutions. That we can just look at it fairly. That is like saying, I will never drive a car because the driver was so bad over here. It's now you're deflecting responsibility. You have a deep offense towards that person driving so much that the actual machinery, as you mentioned in the church, is now not even, you're never even going to apply it. So now you're not even saying you have the power to make a choice to get in the car and become a good driver because you've, judged that person's bad driving. So that's how I've seen the reconstruction of church, because it's a very, very charged word, and probably even more so in America than anywhere. Verno, I would venture to say that the American church, in your perspective, has done a lot of, and even if it's conversion based, not solution based, which there's a whole thing on that. But they've gone out, they've done. I mean, you can see hands extending from America coming to you, and that's a beautiful thing. Being in America, it's a totally different perspective, I promise. And the American church has done a lot of good in that way. I can see it. I have to also have a balanced perspective and see how much religious destruction and abuse has happened in a lot of ways. And me personally going to so many, looking around and being on the hunt, like I mentioned at the beginning. But that's the thing, is my deep offense towards authority that wasn't good at what they did. Now I say that the whole system is not even to ever be used. That's where my biggest change was for me. So what did that do? That said, well, and Daniel and I talked about it all the time, but Daniel and I are still talking, going, well, we got to do community. We got to do life together. What are we really saying? We're saying, throw out every institution that would gather people together in a beautiful, ordered way. And order does not mean control. Okay. This means that a nice structured, like, okay, in America, we know teams that thrive have really good defined roles. Businesses that thrive have good defined roles. Governments that thrive, armies, okay, military, good defined roles. And order and structure, those guys got each other's back, right? There's a beautiful knowledge of roles for this machinery and organism to function. Now, the church, I never, ever, ever saw like that. I never, ever saw like that. I saw it as a total waste of time. A few prideful people at the top controlling other people at the bottom who were not doing good, them collecting the money. I mean, I can go on and on all the different things I saw. And a lot of those who have gone either the New Age route or just full on rejected Christianity entirely, it is because of that sense of justice that we all have deep down, knowing, some innocent people are getting preyed on, and you're right. Or these leaders are not being responsible. You're right. We're seeing it in the government. We're seeing it all these different places. We can see that happen in a lot of different places. So do we hold that offense so much to say that the whole entire thing needs to go down, baby and bathwater, like you said? Or do we say, because of that, what is the deep desire that's coming up from me? It's actually to do love and community the right way. What is that right way? Daniel, you'll probably unpack this more. We've talked about this a lot because, Daniel, this has been your whole thing. I have never yet heard someone present a solution for a better way. That's why I've seen deconstruction come up and stay deconstructed till it's a dissolved delusion where people get, and there's a lot of bitterness and resentment and hopelessness. For me, it was less of like intentional hate, and it was more of just like, man, I'm just fully disappointed, like, man, like, are we just all out for ourselves? Like, I want to love people, I want to have community, but I don't know. I can't trust again. I can't hope again. I can't believe again that this can work or that can work. And it's tough. And in America, we're very, very individualized. Verno, I love your side of the world. You guys do community better, just as culturally better. I always tell people that I'm racist in the opposite way. I love every race for their uniqueness. like there's no one who can sing like a gospel black singer. Okay. There's no one who can cook a Mexican meal like a proper Mexican. Right. So you can just go to every race, and they have their beauty and uniqueness, and that's God coming through that race. And so what I've seen church to be is this family, this race that God says, beyond those divisions that I've created you guys to have in uniqueness, there's a place that you can have this oneness, and it's under the umbrella called a church system or organism. And this has come by a lot of digging, because throughout church, I thought it was a waste. I really was like, it needs to fall for anything to happen. But now I don't see it as what I used to see it as. Now I see it as in the categories of team, army, government, business. Like, I see it in like just simply a structure of function in the earth for, Verno, what you just said, solutions, expression of truth, freedom, inclusivity in a really powerful way. Acts 17, what Paul talks about there was really profound to those in Athens. You can go and read that and feel the inclusiveness that happens there is profound. And this is who Jesus was. It literally, the most known verse that everybody could quote is that God so loved the world that he giving to all, right? So the entire world can now be included into this higher family. So that if your family failed you, your parents, your church, your business, all these different things failed you, you have a family in God of also still broken and hurt people who can come together for a higher purpose in God. And that's our security that we can stand on. So I could go on that topic, because this has been fully deconstructed and been reconstructed. And that's what I'm speaking from. And Daniel, so go into that a bit.
I'm going to jump somewhere completely different just because I've been holding on to a couple things.
Okay, good. Do it then.
Before you do, can you hold that thought, Daniel? Can you hold that? Awesome. Because I was thinking, because it's directly related, I was thinking that our desire for something, and I believe this, I've observed it, so I believe it. For a long time, I've observed it consistently, that our desire for something in itself implies it, like it proves that thing exists.
Nice.
My experience of it might be dysfunctional. It might be expletive, but that desire, like I want love. That means love exists, even if
nice.
I had a life of abuse. And so the definitions, and I'm just saying this. I'm not trying to trigger another part of the conversation, but things like love that you just talked about. Community, like these words are bandied around, but when the chips are down, where is my community? Am I, without being disparaging, my God friends, like as in I am God, and I'm not being disparaging, but where are they? When we disagree, does that community actually exist? And family, like we throw around words, family, this is my family, hey fam, and I'm thinking, but what is a family? Do you know what a family? And most people don't. Because there's either been deconstruction or there hasn't been construction to actually show that these things are. So
that's good, Liz.
Yes,
very good.
Yeah, cool. So now I'm happy I want to listen to Daniel now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and have these things actually been constructed in me? Because we have ideals, but Christ has to be formed in you. So for me, that was another thing, is like I'm chasing these ideals, but it's being constantly exposed. Where am I when the stuff hits the fan? Am I actually being the things that I'm saying I believe in? We got to go through all those contrast and contradictions and stuff. But I just wanted to share a couple of things, because I was wanting to remember to share this a while back in the conversation. And I think it's good in the segue into the new age and science and all that stuff, because for me, I've always been a person that I want to understand everything. I don't want to just believe it. I want to understand it. Right. And that can get you in trouble in church circles. But I remember so I wanted to share these two particular instances, because it's the difference of hearing about, talking about, believing about deconstruction or whatever, but actually experiencing the effects of it in live time and being like, whoa, right? Because two major agreements that I guess I had made in my childhood, in my early immersive Christian programming, that once you start looking on the outside of that box of the things that you're being told, hey, watch out for that. And in the new age, a lot of language, which is consciousness, right? You talked about energy, vibration, frequency, but consciousness is a big one, right? It's like, consciousness, what's that all about? And at the end of the day, we are it and we have it. And so we're being told, be careful, don't go exploring all that. But then when you have the guts to step out of the box and explore it, and you find out wait, I am that. Right. And then
you're only consciousness that can question it.
You're entertaining. And as you open up to something, where your attention goes, your energy flows. You begin to experience what you open up to when you're dealing with consciousness, because like I said, you are it and you're in it. But we don't know that when we're defensive or reluctant to explore these things. But once you start exploring it and you're identifying with it and you're like, hold up, like I am this, and I'm realizing and I'm witnessing within my own consciousness these things that I'm learning about. I remember these two particular pillar beliefs in my belief system that when I began to challenge them or even come to the point where I'm letting them go. And in that moment, a huge shift happened. One was rapture theology. And I grew up immersed in rapture end times theology. So it wasn't a matter of, is it true or not? It's when is it coming, right? Is it any day? Is it within the next year? Is it within the next 5 years? That was the only variable. But when I got to this point where through facts, right? Through people showing me, hey, when these doctrines actually came into play. And, a lot of these things are only 100, 130 years old. And this is just factually being demonstrated. And I have to wrestle with, okay, I've been believing something as a matter of fact, but now I'm being shown evidence of where these ideas came into play and were given to the church. And so now I'm wrestling with facts and information, and I'm at a fork in the road. Am I going to keep believing something because I've been told it, or am I going to change my mind because evidence has been presented to me? And the moment that I decided that I changed my mind, it's like a whole new frontier opened up, right? Which eventually led, when I got the up, down, down, that dude, I'm not waiting to get taken out. I'm believing now I'm being sent in and down. I'm coming here to do something. That's nice. Like a mind-blowing polar opposite shift, right? The other thing that I remember, I don't remember exactly when it was, but I remember the topic. And I remember my whole life growing up, it was just a matter of fact that I was living inside of a 6,000-year Earth existence. Okay? The whole reality was created in 6 days, and then man's been around for 6,000 years. I mean, if you're taking everything literal in the Bible, that's what it is. And I just always accepted that as fact. But when I began to dive into science and I'm looking at different things, and I just remember coming to a fork in the road that what if, just like some of these other things, I'm realizing I've been told by somebody who was told, by somebody who was told, by somebody who was told, and I accepted it as fact. And because I agreed and believed, I've been experiencing a 6,000-year-old reality. And when I got to the point to even entertain, what if it's not? What if I'm wrong? What if it's just something someone told me? When I entertained that what if, and I was like, well, what would that mean? And then right on the other side of that belief, it meant every other possibility is possible, including billions of years. It's like a mind-blowing, shattering thing when that happens, because something that seems so solid and real and the only possibility, it's like the veil dissolves right in front of you and there's limitless possibilities. You know what I mean? So when I experienced those things, I experienced a deconstruction of the limitations of my agreements and my beliefs. And when you experience that, and there's a certain level of freedom that comes in, at least of possibilities and potentials that comes in, you begin to really want to get your magnifying glass out and start doing internal checking of what I've been agreeing with and what I've been believing. Because if a simple agreement is causing walls to come up, that's boxing me into a limited experience of reality and life, I don't want to be self-imposing limitations and restrictions on this consciousness that I am and that I have, and that seems to be limitless potential. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the science of understanding how and why consciousness and agreements and beliefs determines my experience of reality. It's very important. And see, this is why Kirby And the thing that brought us all, one of the things that brought us all together is really important, because science and spirituality was never separate prior to a couple hundred years ago.
That's right.
Priests were spirit scientists, and actually they were scientists, period, which includes spirit and the material world. The priests were the ones who investigated all of that, because it was investigating God, because you can't separate God from any of that stuff, right? And so for me, here's the thing that I think happens with deconstruction is once you look outside that box of what you've been allowed to look into, and you begin to actually start experiencing truth in it. I came to know my consciousness through experience. I came to recognize my beliefs and my agreements. I started seeing it and experiencing them. So you can't take my experience from me. And that made me start realizing, hey, on the outside of this box, actually, there's a bunch of truth that I'm now standing in and I'm experiencing. Now I begin to look back at what's in that box, and I start to see the ignorance in there. And it's hard to keep yourself from now judging or looking down on or being mad about or jaded about or hurt or offended about the fact that I was living inside that box that was being imposed upon me, and ignorance being imposed upon me. I was being kept in the dark by people who think they're in the light. And I'm not saying that they don't have a measure of light, because I know Jesus because of being inside that box. So I'll never negate like the gratitude for hearing about God and Jesus my whole life. But when I stepped outside that box and I began to look inside that box and hear some of the things that I just accepted before and see the emptiness in it and the empty judgments going on to all these other people outside that box, I was like, yo, I don't want nothing to do with that box, right? And so I started diving into all this science and New Age and mysticism and metaphysics and all that. And yes, there's truth in all that. And from on that side, I was looking back at the box of the church thinking that thing got to burn, because that ain't it. That's not the truth. That's not bringing freedom. It hasn't produced the fruit that the world is waiting on.
That kept me from all this.
That old system has to crash and burn, because God must have something else he's going to do. And honestly, dude, I had just given up on the whole thing. And if it wasn't for this one particular couple,
that's right,
who was doing church and including all of that in it, consciousness, neuroscience, frequency and vibration, and all the stuff that I was polarized and told, hey, that's bad, that's not it, this and that. And I was seeing them allow exploration, allow the challenging of everything you think you know, allow, let's test it out, let's put it to the test, let's
Daniel,
be the best at all of it. Go ahead.
And no, that's good. And you said, if I saw this couple, and I opened all that up. And what about the social? Because I've heard you talk about this before. What about the community impact? Like Andrew started off talking about fruit. Talk about fruit and that. And Vernal has been saying, like he became a pastor because he wanted to help people. So that means stuff on earth, not just in heaven. So, so
the thing is, I know Andrew because I never gave up on community. When I gave up on church and I gave up on, I was just really saying, I don't believe in I don't believe in the empty, repetitious religion. I experienced some really good aspects of community by a particular church, but they had no supernatural, no mystical, no nothing there. So it was like, well, I can't settle for that because I know that there's this whole other realm of reality, right? But so I was exposed to, like you said, Liz, like we have this longing inside of us. Well, we are social creatures. We're community, tribal creatures that have been, because of capitalism and self-serving thing, we're like taken out of that, but we have it in us. And so even though I didn't necessarily believe in just the repetitious ritual, I was longing and always looking for the community thing. That's why when I met Andrew, I would travel the States, pulling people together, doing gatherings, and we would have like these crazy, amazing experiences, but without organizing and structuring and committing to each other. It's just an event.
Yeah.
It's just a gathering.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
just a cool experience. If it's not commitment, and like Vernal, when you were saying like about love that lays itself down, that's an element of that love that's commitment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Commitment.
Like
Yeah.
commitment. And
Yes.
there's just such a lack of real commitment, especially in American church culture. It's church hopping. It's like, oh, somebody do me wrong, or somebody talked about me or let me down. I'm going to go look for the next church. Now I'm going to go find something that fits what I want, what I need. And, you know, what I'm seeing now is like our relationship to our church should be exactly like a marriage. And in the exact same ways that you're taking vows at that altar to your husband or your wife, like in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, like till death do we part. Like it's supposed to be that same type of commitment to this body of believers, that you are tapping into a truth that's making you free and expanding your awareness of what you are and what you're capable of and why you're here and what you came here to do, and reflecting that to each other and stuff. And like the reason why church doesn't have that lasting commitment is because actually it doesn't teach or see that as the purpose. We've settled for a counterfeit thing that's just about this idol of Jesus, that he did certain things and we're waiting for him to come back and get us. And we're going to, you know, do the right things or the good things by coming to church. And that'll never satisfy you.
Yeah, self-serving.
You know?
So we're talking about a
This is so
reformed
good,
church.
man.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm going to, I'd love to hear, you know, we'll wrap up soon. But each of you, if you've got something else you'd like to share, add to that, please do, because, and I'm particularly interested in hearing just a couple of words on, okay, we've all been through these, like I'm single now, but you have wives, okay, and you've been through this, you've been describing this massive, you know, deconstruction, this massive questioning in your life, unraveling stuff, and then we're saying that, you know, like, oh well, I've, you know, something's reconstructed, and that, and obvious, you know, yeah, I'm reconstructed, I'm reconstructing, and that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just say, you know, please include a few words on your fruit. What would your wife say about you behind your back now as against before? And that's not being disparaging about the value of the path we've been on.
Yeah, I think personally, since I've got back to church and started church again, now I'm looking at church in a very organic way. Now it's more authentic, since it was what I saw in the church that got me away from church. Now I've come back to church with with a reformed mind, you see. And since you see, I don't negate, I don't remove this whole journey. I've learned so much, and again, I'm not throwing it out. But whatever I've gone through is also helping me to come back to church in a more organic manner. So now I would say I'm doing it with a more authentic heart, and I'm seeing the fruits in terms of I feel I'm really reaching out to people in a genuine way.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think two quick ones, and I think a lot's changed. Prayer, I went from praying all the time to not praying to now praying all the time again. There was also this belief at one point that, oh, we have everything, and so we don't need to ask for anything or don't need to even enforce anything with our words. But if we actually believe that we are co-creating with God, then that's actually more reason to pray and to speak and to do the things, right? And act it out. There's been a lot of things that have changed, but the commitment is definitely stronger. I think reawakening prayer has been kind of the pathway to a lot. Someone said something really good to me 12 years ago, that he said, no man is greater than his prayer life. And that is just so true. 100% true. And I think the main thing I would say is, what if this God, okay, so deconstruction's happening and happened. What if this God that is a higher power, that is invisible, that is almost unknowable, unsearchable, just too grand for our minds to get? What if that God wants to be known? Okay. What if that God wants to be intimately connected heart to heart with the human? How does that happen? Does this God come as a Zeus style? Is it just universe, so that you're hoping you're on good terms with this karmic mechanical world, as Vernal said? Is it in the form of an animal, in a form of a graven image, right? What if it was in a weak, frail, unique son that was in our image and likeness as well, right? And so this beautiful stepping into the narrow way, which I would say is Jesus, has done everything for me, because that's what changed me to begin with. And in the deconstruction, I've ran wildly, learning, forgetting the most beautiful thing was the narrow way that opened up, like Narnia, that door opened up this whole experience. But this time I get to walk it with Aslan. If you know Narnia, I love the definition of a myth that says a myth is something that has never happened before, but is always happening. Oh, that's so crazy, right? Okay, Narnia, the Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, maybe has never happened, but is always happening. Okay, right now we're in that story. That myths are beautiful like that. So, what is my Narnia experience? Do I want to go walk around orphaned and alone and scared of all these different, or do I want to go with Aslan, walking through knowing that this one owns it all and is raising us up, sons of Adam, to reign the whole thing? Now go watch Chronicles of Narnia thinking that way, because the whole thing is the story. It's our story in real time. Like, this Bible is in real time, our story being lived out. It's a beautiful and profound thing. And when it opens up to you and you just ask the inspiration of this spirit, because the people writing it were not perfect and the translations are not perfect, and all the deconstructions of the Bible I've gone through as well is not perfect. What's perfect is that your heart connects with, could there be a God that would actually minimize himself into a place, or into you, to come through your five senses and be experienced? Wow. And if that's the case, now my human experience gets divinity, and we really do, come into an incarnation as Jesus did. So now we see ourselves in Jesus. And what if the person of Jesus is the image of God expressed to us, so that we can know God, so that we can receive love, take it personal, and then be the same way and actually have a way to live? If not, you're looking around, I should be like that human who's in the same sport as I am, or that same career as I am. We're all looking for what's the way to live. He said, I am the way. What if we try?
Let me jump on, just like you're saying that what if, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, you as an individual, like, what if the almighty, infinite, eternal, immortal God could channel and flow through you, and me on the outside of you, I'm able to experience that God coming through you.
Yeah, come on.
Because that's what happened to me with this guy named Kirby. Okay.
Yeah.
That I, from the outside, having already gone through over a decade of, I'm going through conspiracy theories and deconstruction, and I know meticulously the levels and the depths of the organized darkness that's been manipulating humanity for a long time, undeniably on Earth. And now that information is so out there, it's common knowledge now. We could see the depths of the darkness.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning deeply over the years, all the veils are being pulled back, and what's all going on. Okay. And I never once heard anybody present an actual solution that sounds realistic or reasonable of how could we ever turn the tides? How could we ever actually, that's why people are begging, waiting for Jesus to come rescue them, get them out of here, because it's so insurmountable that they say this is Satan's kingdom, it's the devil's world and all that stuff. And there may be a level of that because Satan is trapped here. all the murders going on, all the rapes going on, all the kidnappings going on, it's going on here. But we wind up trying to give this place to whatever we're calling Satan or the devil. But what if we've been sent here to do what it says on page 1 of the Bible, subdue the earth and everything in it? But we don't know what that looks like until you see someone living it out in a measure.
That's it.
And so I saw a guy that I was like, wow, like, bro, I don't get it all yet, but there's something to this guy. I want to know or understand more about him and what he believes. And that should be happening through each of us, right? We're attracting people towards us because of what we're doing. But I didn't know anything much about their church. So what attracted me towards this guy was seeing what I could see him living out as an individual, because I was like, I want to defy the laws of the expectations of the human mind like that. But I had no idea about his deep, deep commitment and connection to the church until I got close enough to know him. And then through that relationship with him, I got to know more about his church, and that they were literally turning their nation upside down and influencing governments and finance and economy and all this stuff, and like running marathons together, not eating after weeks, just like defying all of the presupposed norms. And I could no longer broad sweep against church, that church is this or all churches
that's
like
right.
this.
Yeah, there was an exception.
So nobody had to teach me or tell me or get me to believe a new thing. I saw for myself something that persuaded me to not only change my mind, but to want to be on the other side of this thing, and to want to put myself into the thing that I was witnessing, defy everything I think I know. And so the thing that separates this, this broader deconstructing or new age idea about us all being the same and all being one and all being God, and there's a level or dimension of that, but you're finding your oneness or your commonality in this vague, undefined thing. Whereas the opposite of that is we are uniting in a common identity and personality and set of governing cognitive
one heart, one mind, one accord
of beliefs that is causing us to change our actions and to be that we have been sent on purpose with a purpose to be and bring the solutions, and that it is possible for us to overturn this situation. Whereas other than that, I have not heard anything that causes or gives me hope. And this is ongoing almost 2 decades of exploring all these, things that are out there. Nothing has given me hope that there's a way other than God coming and wiping it out or rescuing us out of here, or those age-old, ideas that we tell ourselves to bring us a hope of some way, the situation being turned, but never actually believing that you might be God's hope, that God's hope is you, that God sent you as hope to the world. All creation is waiting in eager anticipation for liberation at the manifestation of the sons of God. To all who received him, he gave them the power to be the sons of God, So for me, now being in the church and part of the church, it doesn't disclude any of those other things. I mean, consciousness, new age, vibration, frequency, all of it is gathered into this thing. But it also empowers me, like, wow, like God's trusting me to bring what the earth needs. Yes. And then there's this new level of understanding love and commitment in the same way that I'm learning it through my wife, but even beyond that me and her, like, we can be married to something even greater than which is this greater body and community at large, and get over the differences, get over the divisions, get over all that stuff, even appreciate all the distinctions and the divisions, but be a part of bringing a new word, a new message that is uniting, that is healing, that is redeeming and restoring and reconciling all things to Christ. And none of it was for waste, because just like in your own personal life, your whole story becomes your glory, even all the trauma and drama, once you get this, right? And so even the whole beautiful legacy of the church, the whole traumatic, long, dramatic story of the church that comes with lots of division and all this kind of stuff, it's all beautiful on the other side of it. You know what I'm saying? We get to be a part of that.
Because that's so good. Because we're the exact ones to bring the solution. If we were the ones that were hurt and traumatized or whatever, we wouldn't replicate that again. We would do it different. And it's finding others, like exactly what you just said is one of the best descriptions of it, bro.
Yeah.
And that's what I love to partner with, is people who have their own unique experiences, and we come together and say, I need you, right? And we can say, I need you and I need you. And we truly do need the most unique of people to come together with one purpose like this. So
yes,
beautiful description.
Very, very cool. Hey guys, it's been really awesome. Like, I've just really, really enjoyed this. Thank you. And you know, like what I'm seeing here is just four of us out of a bunch of people we know who are extremely different and very unique, and that, but you know, we've asked and we've kept asking. We were seeking and we keep seeking, and we've knocked and we keep knocking, because there's always more. Like if you're married or if you have children, or you know, whatever important relationships in your life, partners, whatever, you know, we don't just seek and stand still, it'll crumble. You know, like, so we're living dynamically onward, you know, but it's a constructive kind of, reconstructive kind of asking and seeking and knocking and that. And so like, well, once we've seen this, it's like, you know, like, I know we've talked before and it was like, it's weird and there's no one more shocked than us. It's like, I never believed that.
Never would have thought
like this, that we could have family, community. Like, they're not buzzwords, you know. It's like, my goodness. So
I want to say this one last thing. I would not have got to this place or seeing it this way on my own, or I would have a long time ago. It's because of leadership, man. It is. Right. And finding good leaders that you can trust. And trust me, it took me 4 years from that first 5DP that we went to trust. I would go like hang out, go to an event, go something, and then I'll back out and disappear for a couple of months, because that's my own things that were built up for so long. But I never once felt judgment. I never once felt, you know, judged or outcast or anything. And I was given all the time in the world and all the patience in the world to experience love and acceptance and find a place that I belong. But people who had more experience and knowledge and wisdom than me, given their life, taken their time to give it out. Yeah. And so it was on me at my pace that I wanted to receive it. But those leaders, they restored to me a respect and an honor for order and structure and organization and all the things that I thought were bogus at some point in time, you know. And it's an amazing blessing and gift, you know, to find people that you can trust again and receive from. And yes, for me, that was the big kicker.
Yeah, we do. We all crave leadership. That's another one of those deep down things that we all come out with. We need parents day one. And as time goes on, we still always do crave parents and someone in that leadership role. Who can I look to? Right. And there's something in us that desires to give to another and say, hey, follow me. Like, I got you in this. I got you in this. Right. And so we're always the student and the teacher in at any moment in this. And that's what, for my wife, Grace, and I, committing with Wow Life Church and with Kirby and Fiona DeLeneral has been absolutely life-changing for us. And it's a journey. It's in motion. It's a living, breathing organism that is not structured in a way to have a period at the end of the sentence and hold something down and to control, to put some, you know, parameters around it in a controlling way. It's to truly open things up and say, go and be you in this. We're all part of the same team and same family, and all the way from Sri Lanka. Who would have thought? Coming to America, going across my YouTube algorithm in 2018 or 19, and then me knowing the first time I heard that man's voice, same thing. It was like stick right there, and he knows what he's talking about, and he's carrying something much, much deeper. And I was like, maybe there's something here, and have been locked in ever since. And so we're on this, we're figuring it out as we go. But man, it's that we get to actually have a body in motion together, because this whole belief in God and Jesus, as I, broke it off in that way, where what if this invisible God wanted to have a visible, connection point? We have to replicate the same thing and say, if God wants to be known now, like you said, Daniel, it's through us, right? The Jesus that we're all describing is a mystery and ascended in heaven and has a story, but it's, even in the book, it says if all the things Jesus did could be described, all the books in the world couldn't fill it up. So what's left of God? It's his body. It's you and I, whoever's listening, us for, is that God doesn't have a body except the one that he put his spirit upon. And that's us. He literally left. Jesus left saying, it is better that I leave, and I'll give you the spirit, and you guys go and multiply and subdue the earth. And I'm going to be with the Father. And I just want all the kids to get along. Okay. That's what we are, is one big family. And if all the kids just got along on this earth, there wouldn't be those thieves and murderers and all this injustice that we feel. We'd be actually that family of God, building a city of God that is beautiful and ever expanding. So that's that link that you put there, Liz.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful, That's what brought us all together. That's why we're here. It's by a miracle that we're all online around the world, different time zones.
It is crazy. And so it's been so good getting together, and it's just fascinating. It's crazy that we, such different people, that we're actually connected here, and we're actually connected in a meaningful way. Who would have thought? Who would have ever
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Catch you guys another time.
Love you
Looking
guys.
forward to it. Love you all. Awesome talk.